All right, now looking at our solution, our problem, we want to find repeating element in an array and return the list of the repeating elements. So we want to look at the array called numbers, or any array will pass to our function. Our function should be able to check this array and then return the list of elements that are appearing more than once in our function. So what we do here now, let's console log our results. And then we say repeating elements. Okay, and then we call our function find repeating elements to pass our array, the array of numbers there. So if we log this to see our repeating elements, what are we having repeating elements? Okay,
Right.
and in our map, we see 1 is 2, y2 is 1, 3 is 2, 4 is 2. So we already seen our repeating elements. From here, we see the ones that are greater than 1. All right. So what we can do now is to look through the keys. So let's say object dot keys. Okay. And then what is our object map, which is our map. Then we've talked about the for each method before. So now we see our key, and what we are doing here. Okay, so what we see here now, if map, then our key is the value now of the map is greater than 1. What we do is let's now we create a variable to hold our repeating element. So let's say const results equals an empty array. So we push all the repeating element into this empty array. That is what we now return. So we can then say result.push. Okay, result.push our map, and no need to even go to map. We just push our key here because that is the repeating element. Okay, so you remember this is a string, but we are dealing with numbers, so we put plus behind it. This plus means convert the string into a number. That is another way you can do that using a function called parseInt, but this is a short code. So we can say something like this. We'll wrap this in a function called parseInt. This parseInt will convert the string into an integer. We also have parsefloat to convert it into a decimal number. So if we are done with this function, and this is what we want to do. If we then return our results, we should have our repeating elements. And now you see in our result here, in a repeating element, we have 1, 3, and 4. This is a very viable solution and straightforward, and also very performant in the sense that we didn't have a double loop. That is a loop inside a loop to check that. So the map we created have helped us to break the two loops. That is the looping the array twice. We are now able to do it in a separate level instead of doing one inside the other. So we have, this is a very good code for us to look for elements that are appearing more than one in our array. Even if we pass into this array, into this function, an array of string, let's say, do we have one here? Okay, let's just create one, an array of string, and then we put some to be repeated. So let's say const names equals array of, we have John, and we have Emeka, we have Jude, we have John again, and we have another one. Let's have Philip. So we have Jude again. We have Mark, all of male names. So let's add a female name. Let's not be gender biased. We have Angela, and then we have Amaka, So let's repeat Amake again as a female name that is appearing twice. So if we pass this now into our function, instead of numbers, we pass names, then we'll still be able to see the two that are, we have a names not defined. Okay, I misspelled that. Have names. All right, so let's see our repeating elements. What am I seeing? This is name. Repeating element is 1, 3, and 4. No. We are now looking for names. This is where we have issue here. And I'm not using param here, which is a very bad option. So what we should do here is params. Then here is params. So we still have params and params. Okay. And in this case, you remember we are not converting this to number again, so we have to remove this. So let me just copy this line and comment this particular one that is meant for number and remove this. Okay. So we see that John, Jude, and Amaka are repeating. So we have been able to return them. If you look at the code, we have John twice. We have Jude also twice. This is Jude. This is the other Jude. We have Amaka and Amaka twice. So we have been able to get our repeating element twice from the array. So in a situation where we don't know if it is an array or integer or numbers, instead of just shoveling these two here, what we can do is to check the data type of our data before we can do that. So what we can do here instead is to say, if remember the type of operator we use. This is just like enhancing our function. If type of key equals number, then we do this. Okay. So let's wrap this in a function, in a bracket like this. Then we put s here. S, we do the other one. So in a situation where it's a number, we don't need to worry ourselves. It will check for if it is a number. It will convert it to. Sorry, this will not still work because type of this is string. So what we can do here instead is to say if pass int key not equal na and not a number. Okay, this will work for us. Okay. What are we seeing? Okay. If we are able to convert it to integer, we put this, otherwise we use this. So our code is working. If we come here instead of names and put numbers, it will still be able to return the repeating number, but we still have our 1, 3, and 4. All right, that is it about looking for repeating elements. Okay, with this one, do we have any question?
No, sir.
Okay, it's very clear.
Sir. Yes, sir. Please, I have a question. Let me ask something. This map. Can you remind me what it does? I know it's an array method, but can you remind me what it does?
This, you mean the map I put here?
Yeah.
No, that is the variable we created. That is our object. We created an empty object. You are seeing it here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and this is usually referred to a map. There is a data type called map in JavaScript. Let's say this is it. It's a map, new map. So instead of creating this map, when we create an empty object, we can use it the way we use this. What it does is, it doesn't, with this map, we can create unique key value pair. this is the key, this is the value, just like the way we have in an object. So what we can do here in the map, let's save this and see if we have you see that we are still having our solution working, isn't it? I've changed it to new map and our solution is still working. But this one gives us more flexibility, more functions. So instead of passing the value like this, like the way we did here, what we can do with the map, we can do something like we have a function called add. Is it add, or let's see. Okay, we have get to get the value. When we do that, what I just removed there, like this, we are getting the value the way we used to get the value of an array. But this now have a function called get. And with that get, you can get the value. We also has a other function like it has, you can also check if the value exists. What we are doing here now with the map, what we can do instead of doing this is to just say dot has, and that is it. It's a function now, no longer this. So what we can do is to remove this bracket, then remove this other bracket and close it with parameter bracket like this. So if it has, we can then set our value. Okay, now see what we now have here. We are not putting our value, but in this case, what we have to do now is inside here, we still need to get the existing value and add it. So what we can do is to say map.get. We still have our params I, and then we plus it by 1. Okay. So if we save our code now, we still have, do we have a repeating element? No, I think we are having an error here now. Okay. I think the code here, let's see if this is true. Okay, it didn't get here. That means our expression here didn't return true. Okay. This is an issue. We can't get it like this because what we get here will be different. We use the map differently because what this is doing is picking the value of this param, but we are actually looking for the key. I think I will come back to treating map like this without a function in a separate class so that it will not create a problem that will be confusing. Okay, I don't know if the answer is okay by you understand the question, or the answer answers your question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So anytime we create an empty object like that, we are actually creating something we can use as a map. And there are different data structures in JavaScript that we use as we proceed. So let's still be picking them one by one. So let me look for another problem which we can think in line and see how we can solve it. Okay, let me look at one here. Remember, the reason why we are picking this one is so that we begin to look at think in line with problem and solution. We look at the problem and then we reason how we solve it. Okay, let's look at the situation in a number array. You look at Let me just a moment.
Okay, sir.
Okay. I should have picked some of the problems earlier, but I couldn't do that. I didn't have the, I didn't even remember. Let me pick this, find the row with the maximum number of 1. I want to pick a question which you will try to solve. Okay. I think this one will be a bit hard for you at the moment. Okay, let's look at, you should look for the smallest positive number missing from an unsorted array. I think you can do this one. You remember what we did earlier yesterday in solving problem. You should be able to do this. After doing this, then we'll take another harder one. So this is the question. Find the smallest positive number missing from an unsorted array. Okay, so if you are given the array of array, we have this value 2, 3, 7, 6, 8, -1, then we have -10, then we have 15. And then the question is, you should look for the smallest positive number that is not in this array. So let's see, for example, looking at the array, what could be the answer?
5.
No, we still have numbers smaller than 5 that are not there.
Okay, so the 1.
Okay.
Since the smallest. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So how do we write this code? You give me the first step. So you see that the problem stated that the array is unsorted first and foremost, and that means the position of the array is not in order. And
Yes.
we have, if we solve it like this, we can still get the solution. But if we can still do it otherwise, we can still sort it before we proceed. So in your opinion, what do you think we should do first?
We first sort the array.
Okay, so sort the array. Then what will be our second step?
when we sort it, we sorting it in ascending or descending order.
Yeah,
That will be
whichever one.
okay. If you are sorting it in ascending order, that means we will not check because minus 10 will come first, minus 1 will come before they will not start 2, 3, 7, 6, 7, 8, and 15. So now after starting in ascending order, let me think. That yesterday I didn't actually understand that missing, but though I didn't study the video today, the video was not more what I studied today. That missing this thing to sort a missing number. The video I didn't watch it today, but I get that one very well. I can easily because the code we wrote for that one is very long. The code you wrote is very long, so because I was saying let me get this arrow method very well before I can. So that's the one I was following very well today. But after sorting it, let me just now I can do it. After sorting the numbers, we will now filter.
Filter. If we do filter forms a new array of.
Or we'll find. No, we'll find.
Okay, if we do find, we are looking for a particular one, but which one are we looking for? When you do find, you already know what you are looking for. In this case, we don't know what we are looking for.
No, after sorting it, after sorting it, let me assume that we don't know the array, but after sorting it, because it did not print the array for us, we'll now know what we are looking for from the result that it gave us.
After sorting it, we are not going to display the array. We are not going to console log it because if we are after writing our code and you deploy the application to the cloud, you host it, you won't be able to be seeing the value they are passing. We are assuming that this value will be passed in by people using our software. So after sorting it, we don't even know what they are passing. Not like this time, we know this is what we are having. And then looking at it, we can know that one is there. But what in the case you don't know the number they are bringing, so you don't actually know that you are looking for one. So you need to write the code in such that any list of array they bring, the code should be able to process it and know what is missing. Okay, the second step is we have to look through the array and then check if an element is missing. Or instead of looping through, we have to loop to the last highest, let's say highest element in the array. So let's say in this case now we have 15 here. That is our highest element. So I think if we look from 1, you remember positive numbers are from 1 up. 0 is not in the option because if 0 was to be seen like that, 0 should have been the smallest. But we are talking of positive numbers, so we move from 1. So if we look from 1 to 15, and I will not get to 15 because 15 is already here. So 1 to 14, that is set to less than 15. The first one that we see that is not there is what we are picking because we are looking for the smallest. But if it is the highest, then you will pick the highest, the last one that is not there. So in this case, what we have to do is to write our loop. So let's say, first of all, let's solve the pattern. We are now going to sort it in descending order so that the first one should be the smallest for us. So that with that, our loop we should get the result faster. So we say array.sort, params.sort, then we remember our A and B. Then this one now, we are going to sort it in A minus B, unlike B minus A, so that the smallest should be the first. This is called descending or ascending order, I think so. Yeah.
It's ascending.
Okay. Okay, so this should be descending. Let's console log our params now.
It's ascending.
Okay. So let's say find missing find smallest. All right, so let's just copy this array and paste it there. That is the data we are working with. All right, after our sort, we start from -10. Okay, so we have our array sorted now. All right, so what we are doing now is we are now going to look through, let's say let's create our highest variable now. Highest equals params. The last one, you know how we can get the last one? That is param.length -1.
-1, yes, sir.
Okay. So what we do now is to say let I equals 1 because we are looking for positive number. No need to start from 0. I is less than highest. I is less than highest. Then we have I plus plus. So what we do now is we check if I does not exist there. Now, let's see if params dot find. This is now where we do our find. You know, I didn't create an object for this to put the values. If I create the object, this is now an looping inside here, which will be more or less performant than this style we used before. But no problem. So let's just get our results. So what we are saying now, if A is equal to I, so look for I for us. If it does not exist, if it does not exist, just return I for us. Return I. I is our value. So here, let's say smallest missing number. Okay. And then we log. Have param sort is not a function. Okay, this is the issue. I'm supposed to put this outside in a console log. So what we have here is this general console.log. All right. So you see very quickly we have gotten our 1. Because when it starts from 1 and loop like that, 1 is missing and we get 1. So if we come here and add 1, which one we know that 4 is also missing. 4 and 5 is missing. So let's say we add 1 here by ourselves now and we write the code. 4 is missing and we just pick 4 immediately. The code is very fast to pick our results. But if we start from highest, to do I minus minus, and then it should be less than 1 when I is less than let's say it's greater than, I should be greater than equals 1, so that I stop at 1. Then we have minus minus here. We still have our result. What do we have now? Okay, yeah, you see that we are picking the highest one because we do return here. So if we are looking for the highest, this would have also given us the highest first. But if we want to go down to the list, we will not do return here. We then be, let's say, like pushing the values into another array, then check this for the smallest among those array, which will be a long distance solution. So if we are looking for the highest or the lowest, we just switch the way our loop is working here from minus minus to plus plus and from 1 to the highest like this, and we'll be able to pick what we are looking for immediately in less than within the highest possible time. We'll get our result. So with this, we are able to pick our result immediately. So here now, and we're picking 4 immediately. That means our loop here will just run from 1 to 4, and it will get the result. No need to go to a 15 again. If it is looking for the highest, it just move from 15, and then as it hit 14, and it will pick it, and the loop will terminate. Okay. You try to identify the first step. The second step is what was a bit confusing to you. So is there anything confusing with the solution?
No, sir. But when we did this, this what is it called? We declare this function when we are finding.
Yeah.
Okay, is this another way of declaring for instead of us declaring the function outside?
Which this function finds
Well,
smallest.
no, the if statement. The if statement that say if param is not if param doesn't find.
Okay, this find is a function inside array. Remember what we are passing here is an array. So find is a function inside array. Is it what you are asking?
No, not. I know that param is a function. I'm talking of this that bracket A is
Okay,
equals
okay,
to
okay. Yes, yes. This is called an array function. Yes, arrow function. What makes this a valid function is that this arrow, this arrow JavaScript, we know that this is a function, an inner function, a function that doesn't have a name. It's usually an anonymous or a function. This our function is an inner function inside here, and this in JavaScript, and it is called a callback. That is, it will execute and get our result for us. So what we could have done here to create the function is in the normal way is to do this and then wrap it with our object like this. And this would have been our result. But in this case, we know that we have added more characters than we could have naturally added with the other one, isn't it?
yes, sir.
So when you are not going to call a function outside, especially you are just using it inside another function like this, or it's just a callback function, a function expected in another function, especially all these um, JavaScript related functions. When you are expecting a callback like that, it's just a straight way to use an arrow function. It's most popular and it's more convenient for us too. Personally, I love using arrow function as when necessary. So anytime you put a bracket like this, even if it's outside, this what we created here, we can also create it as an arrow function. And one important thing of arrow function, you don't need to put the keyword function again. Instead, you create a function as a variable like this. You just say const, find missing number, and then you say equals. Now this equal, this is not a function. Then you put your arrow function in front like this, and this is a valid function. We've now created a function called find missing number using our arrow function. So you look at this expression pattern is different from the other, but it's still the same function. So when we get, we'll discuss more about this as we proceed, but this is just a summary of what about the arrow function. And it's also very, very helpful. But when you are creating it outside like this, it appears that you actually write more code than just using a function, the function keyword. But when you are using it inside a fun callback like this, like in find, when you don't need the function name because you will not be calling the function somewhere else. The reason we give function name like this is because we want to call it somewhere else. But inside a callback function, that you don't need to call it somewhere else. You don't need to give it a name or use the function keyword. You can just use the arrow function expression and create your function. So if we save our code now, you see that our result is still working well. There's nothing wrong with our code. It's still in order. Okay. I hope it's clear now for you.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let me return it back to the normal function expression, since all our code at this point is uniform with this. So if this array was a very large array, this find can cause some using this find is going to look for the item inside the array one after the other. But all those who created a map like this, it will just be a single expression, a single call. But with this find, it will look for the first element, check if the first element is I. If it is not, it will go to the next element. So this find is usually O of n. That is, it will run the worst case scenario where the thing we find the value is at the last point, which is O of n. It will take n time. That n is the number of items in the array. And when we use a map like this, it's usually O of 1. The expression like this, we just run once to look for the item. It won't go from the first one to the next until they find it. We just check direct and pick the item once, which is more performant. Okay. So what in a situation we want to check if an array is a subset of another array? Do you understand the question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you know set theory in mathematics.
Yes, sir.
Union, we also have other set operations.
Intersection,
Yeah,
complement of
exactly. So in this case now we want to check if an array is a sub-array, of the parent array. So what we do is we have to make up every. So let's see the question. Let me type the question. So given two arrays, like array 1, which is from 0 and then to m minus 1, which is the last item, and array 2, which also starts from 0 dot n minus 1. Okay, find whether array 2, okay, is a subset of array 1 or not. Now, another information here, both arrays are not in sorted order. So this information is helpful for you to know. It will give you some clue on what you should do first, because if you need to sort it and you didn't sort it, your code will not behave the same way. Okay, and then another information that it may be assumed that elements in both arrays are distinct. You know what it means for an element to be distinct? That is that they are not non-repeating elements in the array. So let's create our function. So we have array 1 here now and array 2. So what do you think? What should be our first step? Can I interacting?
Okay. Since you want to check whether We will use if statement. It is
Okay.
the condition.
Our first step should be to sort the arrays first.
Yeah. Because the dollar is not sorted. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Now we'll check if the item in array 2 all belong can be found in array 1. So for us to do that, we have to write a loop. So check if all items in array 2 are found in array 1. That's it. If we can do this, then we'll get the result. So we return true. Otherwise, we return false. All right. So let's first sort our array. So let's say array1 dot sort. But is there need? There might not be need to sort this. We'll still be able to get our result if we don't sort this. Let's just sort it. I think so. We can get the result without sorting it. Very, very. If we use the loop, if we look through the array and check if each of them, if each item in array 2 found in array 1. So let's look through array 2. So let's create for let I equals 0. Let I equals 0. I is less than array 2 dot length, because we want to move based on the length of array 2. It's array 2 we are looping. Then we have our I plus plus. What we do now is if array 1 dot find, say a, that is the number, the value we are looking for. A is equals array 2 I. Okay, if the current value in array 2 is found in array 1, so we return false. That is if it is not found, so we negate this expression. We say not equal. Can this give us what we are looking for? I think if this is not this. Let's do this. Then this is what we do. Yes, you negate here. If it is not found, we return false. Then outside the array, we return true. So you know that if this item is not found in array 1, once it returns false, the array will stop running. But if all of them finish running and false is not returned, it will then come here and return true for us. So let's see here now. We log our function now. Let's say it's sub array. Then we put our function find if it's sub array. Then we put the first array to be 11, 1, 13, 21, 3, 7. Then we put our next array. Oh, I didn't put this in arrays, so let's wrap it as an array. Then we'll create the next array. That one will be 11,371. 11,371. All right, so let's run our code. Yeah, and we have our result true. So you look at why we have our result to be true is because when you analyze the code, you find that 11 is here, 3 is here, 7 is here, and 1 is here. So it means that this particular array is a sub-array of this. But once we put something like 10 here, because 10 is not in the first array, we are not going to have 0. Sorry, false, because it will be false. When it got to 10 here, this return false and our loop breaks, and it will not get to this return again. From there, the whole of the function will break and return false first. So with this, we'll be able to find if array B is a sub-array of array A, array 1. All right, so I'm picking this code, these problems from that side, but the solution we are giving is not from there. We're just trying to solve it with our experience. So if you go there, you will see some of this problem, and then you will see how differently they solve it, which is still to prove to us that there are different ways to solve a problem in programming. The same problem, two people will solve it different. There's someone that will write this code to solve this problem, and you have about 20 lines of code. Someone else might come to solve it, and you just have like fewer lines of code. Like we can remove this sort. I'm very confident that if you remove this sort, we'll still be able to get our result. You see, it doesn't affect it. Since we are looping through the second array and checking all the elements in this first array, we can remove it, and it will be fine. Then we can still use map here to say, let's say we'll create a map, and then we'll look through our first array and assign the values here. Okay. And then we now need to say for let I equals 0, I is less than array 1 dot length, then I plus plus. So in this case, we are populating our map with the values of array 1 and just adding them through. Okay, because so that we'll be able to use it in checking. So we say equals true. So instead of using this find here, what we can just do here now is then to use our map, and we'll say okay, if map array 2, now if we have this array 2 and then I, if this is found, it will return. So remember, we are doing negate, we'll do if it is not found. So if it is not found, we then return false. And if we save our code, we'll still be able to get our result. The only difference with these two expressions is that the two for loop we would have gotten is now broken into the for loop inside the for loop, because that find expression is actually executing an iteration on the data of array 2. On array 1, but now we have broken it here, which is still fine. So whichever approach you use, you'll be able to solve your problem. So one thing that happens when we are writing code like this, we might just pick the easiest way to see that we can solve the problem. After solving the problem, you can then begin to think of ways you can optimize it. But sometimes, based on your level of experience, you can just, at the first instance, write a very well optimized code. But after writing a code, you can still ask yourself, this code I've written, is it the best possible code that I should have written? Is there no way I can make this code to work faster, to use less memory? Because all the variables you are creating are data that will be stored in memory. If you create variables anyhow, your system will use much memory of the person user. So imagine when somebody comes to the site with a phone of 1 gig RAM, and then you are creating data anyhow, you might not find out that your app is utilizing more than about 500 MB of the person's RAM. And every other app running, that might not lead to hanging of phone. So when you are building satellite, you can then be thinking of ways to optimize your code so that your code will be very more performant using less resource. Because the more resource you use, the more expensive it is to use your site. Okay. I don't know, you have any question at this point?
No, sir.
Okay, I think we need to stop here today. And tomorrow,
Okay, sir.
we'll consider lessons on GitHub. We
Okay,
have
sir.
to create our Git account and do some manipulations. So the codes we have written here, I'm going to push them to GitHub tomorrow. So you two have to push on so that by next week, when we start building our calculator app, every day the code we write, we push it online. When we come next time, we pick from where we stop. One of the benefits of using such a version control system like GitHub and all those JIT related platforms, there are several of them apart from JIT that we use for such activity in our job. Is one of the benefit is if your system crash, like after this code written today, you come back tomorrow, you don't need to worry, or you have issues with your system, you are sure that you have been able to save your code on the cloud. So you will just fetch it back and continue from where you are working. And then if you're working in a team, someone else can continue what you are doing, or you need a function, or someone need a function, like someone need to use this function we have created now. So instead of calling the person and you copy it, maybe send through WhatsApp, send through any other means you want, you just push the code online, and then when the person go and pull it, he will not have the code you have written in his own system and be able to use it to work. So we'll consider that tomorrow. So, so that by next week we'll be able to get to work in building our calculator app. So enjoy the rest of the night till we meet again tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Bye bye. Good night.
Thank you, sir.